Morning. It's incredibly disappointing that after months of bipartisan negotiations on legislation to try to confront some of the problems that we're facing from China and to try to bring legislation that would get tough on China, Speaker Pelosi jettisoned much of that negotiation to instead try to bring a backdoor Build Back Better bill to the floor. If you look at this bill, it's probably appropriately called the America Concedes to China Act. When you look at the provisions and the gifts they give to China, it misses the mark on so many fronts. And Chairman McCall talked about some of the things that we wanted to do. You can look at things like the Chips for America Act, but then you look at so many of the other things we wanted to do to get tough on China that Speaker Pelosi backed away from. And what did she replace it with? $54 billion in new mandatory spending at a time when inflation is through the roof. Families are pleading with Washington to stop the spending, to get control over inflation that is tied to Washington spending. Speaker Pelosi's answer is to double down and try to add $54 billion in new automatic mandatory spending. They create slush funds all throughout this bill that we're whipping against, including an $8 billion fund that has been used to give taxpayer money to China. Imagine this. I've not gotten a single call from a constituent asking to give more money, their hard-earned money, to China. Yet China's gotten $100 million already from this slush fund, and Speaker Pelosi wants to add another $8 billion of American taxpayer money to a slush fund that's given over $100 million of our hard-earned tax dollars to China. This is lunacy. There's so many other things in this bill that are going to make things worse. But look at what they're doing. The same party that has embraced the defund the police movement, that will not stand up against district attorneys in America who won't prosecute criminals here when we've got a crime wave. They're creating, they call it like a global warming police force. I think they call them climate change officers all around the globe, paid for by taxpayers here in America to send climate change officers all around the globe. We need more police here in America, not people going around the globe shutting down manufacturing and giving gifts to China. So this is such a misguided bill. No surprise that there's not a single mention of China in President Biden's statement of administrative policy. But it shows you where their focus is at a time when we should be bringing bills to the floor this week, last week, next week, to focus on the challenges Americans are facing, which is inflation, high gas prices, an out-of-control border, crime that's out of control in most American cities. You look at foreign policy debacles from Afghanistan to the weaknesses that have now led us to where we are with Russia and Ukraine. That's where the focus should be, and unfortunately it's not. It's why, as we work to get the majority back, we will be confronting these challenges. And we're going to continue to lay out alternatives that would actually get our country back on track, face the challenges that we have today that the Democrats won't deal with, including the COVID mismanagement. You look at right now school kids that are, if they're even able to go into the classroom, mandates. We've been asking for guidance from CDC to look at some of the studies that are out there that show the harm that's being done to kids, keeping them out of school, putting mandates in place on kids when the leaders that are putting the mandates in place don't even wear the masks that they're forcing the kids to make. And I think it's those double standards that are infuriating parents all across the country who want and deserve control over their kids' education. So those are the things that we're going to be confronting. And in the meantime, February 18th is right around the corner. Isn't it interesting that government funding expires on February 18th, and you haven't seen this leadership, the White House, the Senate Democrat majority, the House Democrat majority, bringing any bills to the floor to address what is a deadline that we all know has been out there for months. Are they going to wait till the midnight hour again and then declare some new crisis on February 18th that there's going to be some government shutdown when instead they could be dealing with it today? There's no bills on the floor today that are under a rule. They could be trying to bring bills today to stave it off instead of waiting till the midnight hour. But this is what they do. They've shown no ability to manage the government of the United States. And that's why we're going to be pushing for a change and showing the American people better alternatives.